Hey and welcome. It's time for another look back at one of the most memorable racing games in the business. Joining me is Cam Shea. My name is Luke Riley.
How are
I'm alright. I'm alright.
You've been better.
It's
been a bit of a trial getting to this point, Luke.
It has. Allow us to explain for a moment while we watch the intro for this game. The problems we've had with our 360. We've chosen RalliSport Challenge, as you may or may not have noticed, for this week's game. Part of the reason we chose it is because RalliSport Challenge 2 is not backwards compatible with the 360.
Right.
We have two 360s here. One of them has HDMI out, the other doesn't. So we can only use the one with HDMI out on our capture equipment.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that one red ringed yesterday.
Gosh darn it.
Gosh darn it. So what we did was wrap it up in a curtain and overheat it.
Classic fix.
To bring it back to life, which totally worked. It worked again yesterday afternoon, and we plan to record this this morning. Unfortunately, and I think perhaps because it probably dropped down to like 0 degrees in this loft overnight. It's cooled down a lot, probably cracked again, and red ringed again immediately this morning. But only after I had to take the faceplate off to open up the disc tray, which wasn't working.
We should have put it in the office sauna and left it on overnight.
Anyway, so it's working now. But yeah, as you can see, today's game, RalliSport Challenge, I figured we'd done a few, we'd done a few PlayStation 1 games.
Yep.
We hadn't looked at anything Xbox specific. And B, a lot of people mentioned...
I pitched you on Blinks the Time Sweeper, but you were like, that's not a racing game, you idiot.
One of the things we teased people last week was that you'd be taking over, which
didn't happen.
Didn't happen because you were too slammed.
Yep.
But you teased them and you said it'd be rallylicious, so I thought I'd better do a rally game. Bonus points for RalliSport Challenge for allowing me to fit Speed Weasel in.
That is fantastic.
As opposed to Speed Wheeze.
Yep.
But yeah, a little background on RalliSport Challenge. 2002, so it's, God, what is it? It's 13 years old now, this game. It's a Microsoft-published game built by a little Swedish development studio called Digital Illusions.
Oh, indeed.
Yes.
Amazing.
Who, went on to make some Battle
Royale,
Battlefront, Battle something.
Field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some little first-person shooter. I'm not sure whether you heard of it or not.
Did your eyes bleed from the graphics when you first saw this, Luke? Because I remember this looking pretty damn impressive.
I wanted to mention just on that spinning escort there. But one of the things I was surprised at is how well they've stood up. Particularly,
it does look good.
This is not an early 360 game. Like we mentioned at the top, we're playing it on a 360, but it's only because this is the backwards compatible one and the other one isn't. This is an Xbox One game, and when I want to say Xbox One, I mean the numeral 1, as in the first Xbox.
Yeah.
I mean that car model particularly. Like the game doesn't look as fantastic in motion that it does in the menus, but it's a good-looking game for 13 years old. I mean, good grief. I mean, once you see the stages in action, they're a little plain. But I will confess now, at the top of this video, or more or less at the top of this video, that I didn't play a great deal of RalliSport Challenge.
Me neither, actually.
Yeah, I was Colin McRae through and through.
Yep.
And I played most of my... during that era, I actually played most of my games on PS2, because I got an Xbox One quite late in the cycle. So I caught up on all the... Like Halo, and I caught up on all that stuff late.
You would have got burned. Because you would have bought one late in the cycle, and then Microsoft would have been like, yeah, no, we're not supporting this anymore.
Well, exactly,
360's coming out. It's like, what? It's only been out for like 4 years.
But that's the I was working part-time at the time. This is before I was in the media industry, and I had to choose one one camp or the other. I couldn't afford both at that point. So the PlayStation 2 alone cost me $750 Australian dollars as it was. So yeah. But yeah, I played this a whole bunch eventually, and I never quite loved it as much as the Colin McRae games. But that's because
it was always a bit more arcadey.
Well,
right?
it is.
Yeah.
But playing it now and sort of appreciating it from that perspective, as opposed to kind of going into it wanting something that was like Colin McRae but just better looking.
Yeah.
The handling it does have a really sort of nice, simple but fast handling model. You can kind of get the car into like a nice little power slide when, not here of course, but
great timing. Great
But
timing.
yeah, but the sense of speed's great. There's not a great deal to it. The damage is cosmetic.
Yep.
You can sort of set up your car as a modest degree.
Right.
Before each race, you switch between your gear
your
ratios,
tires.
all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was.
Car models still look pretty good.
They do, yeah. Like I said, I mean, this game is the Gran Turismo 3 era.
So
this is not.
So you're racing against other cars here. Is that just one particular mode? Like what?
Well, this is just a quick race.
Right.
Yeah, but one of the things I did like at the time, and I still do, is I liked RalliSport Challenge because it reminded me of stuff like V-Rally. Because V-Rally was always a more arcadey experience than the likes of Colin McRae. The RalliSport Challenge, when you go into the career mode, you do have traditional point-to-point races where you're racing against the clock.
Cool. Yep.
You're the only car on track. But I always thought this game, and still do now that I've played it again after so long, was a better game with more cars on track. So it just it's kind of like that V-Rally feel. Like V-Rally still existed at this point. V-Rally got up to V-Rally 3 before that series, I don't know, tanked.
These loading screens are really odd.
They are odd. I don't know what that little
I
window.
thought it was glitching out or something.
Oh, you know what? It might be. It's been too long. I can't remember whether it's.
Oh wow! It may well be just glitching out.
It may be a problem with the emulation because you know how the 360 emulates. It's like software based.
Might also be an issue with the fact that this Xbox 360 is on its last legs.
Yeah, it is literally on its last legs. Yep. It's literally been resuscitated twice in the past 24 hours just to play this game.
Oh, my Blinks of Time Sweeper session is yet to come. I don't know if it's going to be able to handle.
I don't know, man.
That clumsier game design.
And actually, another thing I'll mention just before we move on to a few of the other bits and bobs that I wanted to chat about is that this represents the second game, at least the second, unless I've missed one of the others, that was reviewed by one of the very senior members of IGN back in the day.
No, Tao?
Yeah, no, it wasn't Tao. Power Slide was Tao, which we played a fortnight ago.
Yeah.
No, this one was reviewed by Pear.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And he gave it a 9.2 back in the day.
But Pear knows what he's talking about.
But this was big. This was big back in the day. The graphics were incredible, and there was nothing else like it on Xbox at the time. It was kind of the leading. It was the leading racing game for a period.
It's funny the way these things can come into existence. They're popular. They build themselves up as a brand, and then they just disappear.
Yeah, well, I guess that brings us to the main point of the discussion that I wanted to have, is that this game, it popped up, it was met with some really warm praise, like great deal of critical acclaim for this game. The sequel was obviously even better. The sequel, which came out in 2004, was obviously even better. Unfortunately, and this ties into what I'm about to ask, but the sequel isn't compatible with 360 and never has been. So we can't actually play that. Well, we can play it in the office, but we can't capture it. So we stuck with the first one. But it makes you wonder, what happened to RalliSport Challenge? Why did it get forgotten? You know,
is it simply that, like, as much as racing games are kind of popular, they're still kind of niche?
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you've got your titans of the genre, but maybe everything else just doesn't. The margins aren't there. I don't know.
So yeah, it just feels like one of those games that there's been plenty of first-party games that have come and gone, and it's people mourn their loss, but you know they had their time in the sun. But
it's just interesting that we had like a Need for Speed game powered by Frostbite.
Yeah.
The evolution of the kind of graphics tech has kind of been used for these purposes, but RalliSport Challenge is just something that's never come back to.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not only did it didn't just vanish last generation. It vanished an entire generation ago. It skipped the entire 360 generation. It's gone for all intents and purposes. It makes you. One of the discussions that I've seen a lot, and I don't know whether or not it'd be quite suited to it, but I don't entirely disagree. One of the discussions I've seen is that if Microsoft players of RalliSport Challenge and fans of the genre and Xbox owners, if Microsoft aren't confident enough to bring it back, to bring something like RalliSport Challenge back as a standalone game, then perhaps bring it back in Microsoft's current flagship racing series, which is Forza.
Great idea.
It's something that I think it's certainly got legs as an idea, because when you look at the likes of Gran Turismo, which is kind of Forza's equivalent elsewhere, you know, on another console, that has its own rally mode, and it has for since Gran Turismo 2, unless my wires are crossed. But it's not. I mean, I guess the one thing that it would perhaps lose a little is that instant pick up and playness of RalliSport Challenge, which is really kind of a very straightforward game. Handling's really easy to get to grips with. But on the flip side, Forza does have a lot of driving aids. It is a really sort of user-friendly racing game that caters to a wide range of people and wide range of peripherals and all kind of stuff.
So you're saying kind of instead of like Storm Island or instead of the Fast and Furious expansion, you just RalliSport.
Yeah, imagine a RalliSport Challenge expansion for Forza, or perhaps, if not an expansion that came after the fact, just a mode, just a part of, it just becomes a part of Forza.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, it's not a bad suggestion, because I think something like Forza, where we're 10 years into that series now, 10 years, and we're about to be 6 games into the Motorsport series, because that's coming out this year. Maybe it does kind of need something like that. It needs a little bit extra oomph. You know, a little bit, another bullet point. You know, you can't just keep iterating and iterating without adding something exciting and to get people coming back, rather than just, I'll just keep playing Forza 5. You know, but yeah, I don't know. One thing though is I don't know whether you were just you were talking to me, so you didn't notice. Hopefully you guys noticed because you were watching the video, but I just had to put a cheat in a minute ago. Remember the era where cheats still worked? To unlock the downhill tracks, because I wanted to use one of these insane hill climb cars.
What the hell?
This is where RalliSport Challenge goes from really simple to jump in immediately and win straight away to becoming ludicrous. These cars, they're incredibly fast and twitchy, and B, these tracks are super difficult because they're downhill and you go straight off the edge. As they're packed with hairpins. But this is one of the most fun modes. Like the ice racing is good. I like how the friction.
But this is the adrenaline
changes
kind of like.
This is the.
So I'm assuming there's no cockpit.
No, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because the cockpit view is something they added to RalliSport Challenge 2.
Right.
And they added a whole bunch of things.
So you'd prefer to play third person than first person?
I'd prefer to play third person on a game of this type, because it's a lot more of an arcade sort of game. Like I would never play Burnout in first person.
No, I guess.
So that's the kind of thing. But no, you are right. I do tend to much prefer to do like this. Got a bonnet cam, and I've seen that. And it's got the bumper cam and that kind of stuff. But I find games that are really focused on stuff like drifting, really tough to use a bumper cam, because you're always facing in the wrong direction.
See, I exclusively play games like Ridge Racer in first person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's just it feels so satisfying to nail power slides. But I don't play Burnout from first person, because it's kind of more adversarial.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, if it's about the mechanics of the drifting
and
the speed and the sensation of speed, then I want to be as close to the road as possible.
Yeah, I can dig it. Yeah, I'm a riddle fan. I'm a riddle wrapped in an enigma.
Indeed, you are.
Yeah. But yeah, that's RalliSport Challenge.
Great to see it again.
Yeah, I agree. I actually found this.
Well.
I actually found this copy of RalliSport Challenge at a pawn shop for $4. I bought them both. They were $4 each. It was crazy.
Nice.
But yeah, as always, hit us up on Twitter at Mr. Luke Riley, at Jazzabration, for suggestions of what we should dig up next. Maybe what I can rummage around at cash converters for.
And I have a little hint. Next week's game will probably be Luke-alicious, because I'm probably not going to do next week's either.
That's right. Yeah, we'll be back next week. We'll take E3 off, but we'll be back next week. We'll see you then.
Cool. Bye.